Welcome back. Earlier this week, President Obama signed a statement saying he wouldn't sign so many signing statements. Then he signed a signing statement of his own. Confused? It's a sign of the times. And in Washington, it all makes perfect sense.
There's a routine ritual that has a certain kind of drama when a bill becomes law. You've seen it, that nice moment when the president signs. What you don't see is what the president adds when he signs. It's called a signing statement, and presidents have sometimes used them to undermine legislation, essentially telling the government which portions of the law they just signed that they want enforced and which they want ignored. George Bush's critics called his frequent and sometimes sweeping signing statements unconstitutional. And this week, Obama told his administration to take a second look before abiding by the Bush statements. But then, Obama issued a signing statement of his own, his first, when signing that omnibus spending bill. He singled out provisions he said would unduly interfere with his authority in foreign affairs and defense, and instructed his administration to ignore them.
So let's talk politics. Joining us, one of our familiar favorites, Democratic strategist Liz Chatterton, and this week on the Republican side, Sherry Jacobus, who was president of Capital Strategies. Ladies, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Liz, Barack Obama promised change, and this week we got earmarks, a signing statement, and of course, troops still in Iraq. What happened?
Well, I think we're still on the road to change. I mean, my goodness, it's day 51. Okay, I mean, we're still at the very, very beginning of this. But yes, we definitely saw a bill come out of Congress that didn't look like the kind of bill that Barack Obama wanted. And I think he's realizing that Democratic Congress, Republican Congress, Congress is Congress, and it's always going to be tough to get them to be in line. It's a lot like herding cats over there. I will be interested to see if he can keep his promise, though, that at the bill signing, he said, "This is it. This is the last one. We're not going to do it this way anymore." I hope he's right. I'd love to see Congress abide by that. I think it's going to be a tough road to walk.
What do you think, Cherie? Should he have fought the bill? Should he have vetoed the bill?
I think he should have fought the bill. If he believes that earmarks are bad and need to be under control for various reasons, then he should have fought for it now. Otherwise, it looks like he lacked the political will or that he too easily caved to Democrats on the Hill. And let's not forget, this is going to cost people back home when they run for re-election in the House and Senate, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, because Republicans are also guilty of earmarks. So this really would have been sort of a win-win for our new president if he had fought this, in my view.
Well, let me ask you, Cherie, about the earmarks, but about the larger issue of all of the money. Republicans in Congress are saying that it matters, it's frightening, it's a mistake. It doesn't seem to be resonating with the American people, though, doesn't it?
Well, actually it is. The American people, by and large, do not like the stimulus package, the stimulus bill. Overall, they're wary of Washington spending. I think the good news is overall in the economy, for all of us, and particularly the new administration, is that in the last couple of days we've seen the Dow get better, the stock market's gotten better. The bad news for the administration, however, is that a poll came out, the Wall Street Journal ABC poll of top economists throughout the country who give the new president as Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, an F. As far as a grade. So they have some work to do.
Well, let me jump in on that very thought, Liz. Do you think the poll numbers tell us something about the way the public feels now that opinion's shifting?
I think what the poll numbers tell us is that the public has absolutely no idea what's going on, and they still are worried about inflation. They're still worried about their jobs. They're still worried about their wages, and they're certainly still worried about their 401ks and their stock portfolios. I think that's what that says. I think these stimulus dollars are going to be used to put people back to work. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen the day after tomorrow. It's going to take a while. But do I think in the first 51 days we've made huge progress? Absolutely. Do I think we need to keep in check the expectations? Absolutely.
Liz Chatterton, Sherry Jacobus, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
In geopolitics, Vice President Joe Biden once offered a dire foreign policy prediction.
Mark my words, it will not be 6 months before the world tests Barack Obama.
Now, just 2 months into his presidency, could China be Obama's first test? The Pentagon says Chinese ships harassed a U.S. Navy ship in the South China Sea last Sunday. The Obama administration lodged a formal protest, and analysts started weighing in with warnings.
If we give in to bullying, the Chinese will interpret that as a real signal of weakness.
This isn't the first time China's challenged a new president. Months after George W. Bush took office, China detained the crew of a U.S. spy plane for a week and a half. And the 1989 crackdown in Tiananmen Square, it came just months into the first George Bush's presidency. So, Obama's China challenge? It's nothing new. In fact, it's right on schedule. Elsewhere in the political world, the suspense is over. Kim Jong-il was unanimously re-elected to North Korea's parliament. Not a surprise since he was the only candidate, but what did surprise some North Korea watchers was that Kim doesn't appear to be grooming a successor. None of his 3 sons were among the newly elected lawmakers. It worked in Venezuela, so why not do away with term limits in Nicaragua too? Just a few weeks after Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez won the right to run for re-election as often as he wants, his friend Daniel Ortega of Nicaragua says he'd like to do the same. Ortega was president in the 1980s, returned to power 2 years ago, and is barred from running again. When asked how long he might be able to serve, Ortega told Al Jazeera that his mother lived to be 97. Ortega is 63, so you do the math. And CNN's Sanjay Gupta may have turned down a chance to become Barack Obama's Surgeon General, but another one-time member of the CNN family has his own shot at a high-profile political job, President of El Salvador. Mauricio Funes is a former correspondent for CNN's Spanish-language network, CNN en Español, and he's favored to win this weekend's election. Can CNN really be a launching pad to high office? Makes you wonder.